NCAA tournament expansion decision looms. 72 or 76 teams by fall 2023. The NCAA tournament expansion debate is heating up, but the clock is ticking, and the stakes are higher than ever. While the idea of adding more teams to the March Madness mix remains on the table, the window for implementing changes in time for the 2026 season is rapidly closing. NCAA President Charlie Baker recently hinted that a decision on expanding the field to 72 or 76 teams could arrive sometime this fall. But this vague timeline has done little to quell the uncertainty. Originally, August was seen as a potential deadline for finalizing plans. Yet the delay has sparked questions about whether the tournament's format will stay the same for at least one more cycle. And this is the part most people miss: the logistical nightmare of reshaping the tournament in just a few months could be the real reason for the holdup. As Baker explained during a press event in Washington, D.C., the tournament schedule is already a tightrope walk. "The tournament has to start after the conference championships are over," he said, adding that Selection Sunday is squeezed into a narrow window between the final game and the Master of Golf tournament. There's not a lot of room there. Any expansion, we're going to have to figure out how to put it in, and then logistically, how to make it work. This month's meeting of the Division I men's and women's basketball committees ended without a resolution, leaving fans and stakeholders in limbo. For now, the public's opposition to expansion, driven by concerns over fairness, competitiveness, and tradition, has won a small reprieve. But is this really a victory or just a delay? Critics argue that the NCAA's leadership and conference administrators are pushing for expansion to boost revenue and align with the growing popularity of college basketball. The push for a larger bracket isn't new. It's been discussed for years. The last major change came in 2011 with the introduction of the First Four, and the women's tournament expanded to 68 teams in 2022. Yet the financial implications of adding even a handful of teams are staggering. Senior NCAA Vice President Dan Gavitt warned in February that expansion is more complex than has been recognized, citing costs like travel, per diems, and the redistribution of performance-based funds. "It's expensive," he told CBS Sports, because every additional team adds layers to the budget. The question now is how the bracket would actually look if expansion happens. Would the First Four grow to accommodate more teams before the main rounds? Would the 72 or 76 team models require entirely new scheduling strategies? These details remain murky, and the lack of consensus among stakeholders only deepens the mystery. But here's where it gets controversial. Is the NCAA prioritizing profit over the integrity of the tournament? Some argue that expanding the field could dilute the competition and reward underperforming teams at the expense of those who earned their spots through merit. Others counter that more teams mean more opportunities and broader representation. What do you think? Should the NCAA push forward with expansion, or is the current format perfect as is? Share your thoughts in the comments. This is a debate that's far from over. NCAA tournament expansion decision expected this fall. What you need to know. The NCAA tournament expansion decision expected this fall. In a significant announcement, NCAA President Charlie Baker expressed his belief that a decision regarding the expansion of the NCAA tournament will be reached sometime this fall. This timeline suggests that any changes are unlikely to affect the upcoming men's and women's tournaments in 2026. During a recent address at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., Baker highlighted that the primary obstacle to expanding the tournament, especially with less than 8 months to prepare, is the logistical challenges involved. "The tournament must commence after the conference championships conclude," Baker explained. Currently, Selection Sunday occurs just 2 hours after the final tournament game, and it must wrap up by the Tuesday before the Masters. This leaves us with very little flexibility. If we decide to expand, we will need to devise a plan to incorporate it and ensure it operates smoothly. Previously, Baker had informed Yahoo Sports, the first outlet to report on the decreasing likelihood of an expanded NCAA tournament for the upcoming season, that a decision would need to be finalized by August to implement any changes for the 2026 tournaments. On the same day, Baker reiterated the arguments in favor of expansion, a sentiment echoed by conference leaders since SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey first raised the issue in 2022. Every year, there are several strong teams that miss out on the tournament for various reasons, Baker noted. One significant factor is the existence of 32 automatic qualifiers. With 32 conferences in Division I, each conference champion secures a spot in the tournament. While I wholeheartedly support this system and wish to maintain it, it leaves only 36 slots available for all other teams. Consequently, many teams that rank among the top 50 or 60 in the nation are left out. He pointed to the 2024 St. John's and Indiana State teams as examples of squads that deserved at-large bids to the NCAA tournament, specifically mentioning St. John's narrow defeat to UConn in that year's Big East tournament. I reject the notion that some teams currently excluded from the tournament are deserving, Baker asserted. They are indeed worthy, and that is frustrating. Earlier this month, the committees for men's and women's Division I basketball convened separately to deliberate on the topic of expansion, but no definitive decisions were reached during those discussions. The NCAA's Division I board is scheduled to meet again in August. In a statement following the meetings, NCAA Senior Vice President of Basketball Dan Gavitt remarked, "We thoroughly discussed the possibility of expanding the field for each championship, but no decision or recommendation was made. The potential outcomes still on the table include maintaining the current 68-team format or expanding to either 72 or 76 teams ahead of the 2026 or 2027 championships." What do you think about the potential expansion of the NCAA tournament? Is it time to give more teams a chance, or do you believe the current system is sufficient? Share your thoughts in the comments below. NCAA tournament expansion debate. Seth Davis versus Mike DeCourcy. The NCAA tournament expansion debate, a clash of perspectives. When it comes to the ongoing debate over expanding the NCAA tournament, fans and media often find themselves divided. However, one voice stands out in favor of increasing the number of teams from 68. Seth Davis of Hoops HQ has become a prominent advocate for this change. While platforms like X, formerly Twitter, may seem irrelevant to daily life, the clash between Davis and CBS's Mike DeCourcy of The Sporting News has sparked renewed interest in the topic. This high-stakes debate, featuring two veterans with nearly 80 years of college basketball coverage combined, has become a compelling conversation worth exploring. The discussion began with a surprising twist. Davis argued that the tournament doesn't start on Thursday, a fact that surprised even his own audience. He explained that the first 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, are often ignored, but if those days had 6 games each, followed by 16 on Thursday and Friday, it would create a more engaging experience. DeCourcy countered that this approach risks diluting the tournament's integrity, arguing that the current structure, with 64 teams, works because it fits neatly on a single sheet of paper. But Davis dismissed this as flawed logic, pointing out that the actual number of teams is 68, not 64. This exchange highlights a deeper controversy. Should the tournament expand to accommodate more teams, or should it stay as it is? DeCourcy argued that the growth of Division I has been driven by increased participation, not just the number of teams. He cited examples like UC San Diego, a team that recently joined Division I and nearly upset Michigan in its first season. Yet Davis countered that the tournament's value lies in its competitive balance, and adding more teams could lower the quality of play. The debate also touched on the economics of the tournament. DeCourcy pointed out that networks like ESPN have thrived by expanding the bracket, turning the tournament into a major revenue stream. Davis, however, argued that the tournament's popularity is already strong, and expanding it might actually harm its appeal. He compared it to the British Open, where most viewers tune in on Saturday and Sunday, not Thursday or Friday. At the heart of the argument is a fundamental question. Is the NCAA tournament a product that should evolve, or should it remain unchanged? DeCourcy insisted that the current structure is perfect, while Davis believed that expanding the tournament would give more teams and fans a chance to participate. The final showdown between the two men left many viewers wondering, is the NCAA tournament's future in jeopardy, or is it simply evolving to meet the needs of a growing sport?